I've always operated like an artist, even as a child, a young child. I had a studio table in my bedroom at 10 years old, and it was set up just about the way this studio is, with a music source and all my materials and my favorite artists around and books and things like that. I drew, I didn't paint at that age, but I operated pretty much the way I operate today, so it seemed to be a very natural thing. I didn't really think about being an artist or whether that was possible. I probably thought I had to do some career, be in business or something or another, to make a living as a child and a teenager. But I've always done this, and it's just a great need and a great satisfaction for me. I like the activity. I like being in the studio and just looking at the work and sort of entering my own mind or something like that and responding to work. And I did it at quite a young age. I remember in second grade, the teacher sort of knew I was an artist and used that as motivation, had paper in the back of the room that I could use if I completed the assignment. And so I was always sort of the kid who was the artist. And I'm not all that social, which works with being an artist. I mean, you're by yourself in your studio a lot, and that's just it's just natural for me, something I love doing. Painting's a need of mine, and I find it's when I'm painting, when I'm actually engaged in painting, it's one of the most optimistic times of my life. I'm always convinced in the act of painting that the painting is going to be great, that I'm doing a fantastic, maybe the best painting I've ever made. Every single day I think that. And then later, I guess the critical faculties come back to you after the painting process the next day, and you realize what you've done and that it needs to be redone. But the excitement of that optimism when you're engaged in it is a great need. It's addictive. I'll describe the whole process. I mean, I come in and spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm going to do. First of all, looking at other art, looking at what I did yesterday, looking at and begin to conceive of the day's work. Almost all of my work involves direct observation. So whatever it is that I'm working on, a space or a person, I'll have that set up and ready for me to go. I work from direct observation, and a large part of my work is done after the fact, of bringing it in here, putting it up on the wall, sitting back from it, meditating on the work. Giving yourself over to experience, to the accident of experience, to the surprise of experience. I couldn't do without that. I find that seeing something, the edge of someone's head against another color, surprises me every single time I see it. And it's different every single time I see it. It's not something I could pull out of my head or formularize in any way. And that's a key and also a source of excitement to me. Before I start painting, I'll mix a lot of color. I just have habitual mixtures that I go to, but I mix out a palette every day to work from. So that's part of the process. Set that up and get it in place. It's a really slow process in that I'll revise day after day what I've done, pretty much repainting it, pretty much just painting over what I did completely. But in response to the image, there was something that excited me about the image, and I'll have that to build on. And I think it builds a kind of density or there's something about the long-worked paintings that I think is better, more compelling, more powerful than a very brief work or something that's more study-like or that's really a spontaneous one-shot sort of work. You know, painting is a process of optimism, and I'm always convinced that I know exactly what I want to do the next day. I'll see how bad it was the day before, and so I love sanding a painting down, scraping it down, and reattacking it. And it's all very straightforward and direct, as if I was starting over again. I'll start with a kind of drawing, a kind of transparent, thin drawing in an earth color, and immediately go to using color with the brushes and working fairly opaquely on the painting. Even after the painting has been worked for 6 months, I'll approach it in this way. And the unity is what I'm trying to preserve, that first powerful impulse or emotional response to something, which I'd call the unity of the work, is what I oftentimes feel is absent, and I'm trying to drive towards and keep in the work, or find if I haven't found it. When I was an undergraduate and began looking at painting and wanting to make paintings, I was very attracted to Vermeer and de Hoek, and I think de Hoek's subject of thresholds, of moving from one space of light to another, impressed me as a subject and just made a very powerful impression on me. The magic in Vermeer of the life of a single object against a wall and how powerfully expressive it could be stayed with me. The few dreams I've had about painting are entering Vermeer paintings and moving through them. And there's just something about the walls and the light and the way something will stand in front of the walls. So the big challenges are to continuing, I think, at this point in my life, and it's sort of physical vitality, I think, is the challenge. The physical vitality to continue doing it, and to stay with it. There's a moment in a painting that doesn't happen often enough, where the unity of the work comes together in a powerful expression very, very quickly when a work completes itself. Most of my painting, I feel, is not complete or lacking most of the time, but every now and then something happens, and it doesn't have anything to do with how long I work on it. It can happen very, very quickly in a work, and that's a really thrilling moment when I can see something appear in the work, and it seems to make a unity, and by unity I mean an expressive whole, and that seems to come together in the work, and that's thrilling when it happens. I'd like to see people continue to learn drawing and to be exposed to drawing and painting, the great drawing and painting of the past. I'd like to see that continue to be a part of the education of the artist. So I would say art is a communication of the interior life in the form of a physical object, kind of communication from one person to another, I guess, of the interior life that can't be made visible in another way. It's just different than a verbal communication.